Schmidt.
This is big.
Yeah, and we need to talk to him about Kathy Kay, who, by the way, I gave her my dress. She's going to wear it
We're a
next
little
time.
concerned about that.
No, that's okay, but we need to find her. Well, we'll talk
As
about
well as
that.
my Google search.
Yeah, the Google
This
search.
happens to him wherever he goes.
Yeah, we have to talk to you about a lot of things.
When are we talking about the book first?
The director of Google Ideas, which is Google's internal think tank, Jared Cohen. They're the co-authors of the new book, The New Digital Age, Reshaping the Future of People, Nations, and Businesses. Wow.
All right, Eric,
Okay.
what's ahead?
Well,
What's next?
Well, how do we reshape it?
we think 5 billion people are going to come online in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
When those 5 people show up, a lot of really good things are going to happen, and there's some things we should worry about.
Yeah.
The things that are going to happen are medicine and education. For these people, this is a big deal. They're going from no information to a lot of information in one day.
An absolute revolution. No in between. We're going for some of these places straight from the agrarian age to the IT age.
But of course, there's challenges ahead as well, and one of the things that continues to keep us up at night is the threat of terrorism and violent extremism.
Right.
But in the future, as terrorists have to opt into using technology, the room for error becomes much greater, and millions of people with smartphones are able to catch them in their tracks and press rewind.
Wasn't that fascinating?
I mean, obviously what happened in Boston was a tremendous tragedy, but look at what the crowd is able to do. Look at how they're able to track down evil and be part of a digital manhunt.
You know, Eric, we were talking around here having the debate, and now it seems so 2003, about closed circuit TV cameras. How many do we have? London has them all over the place. And we were sitting here the day after the attack going, well, maybe we need more of those in Boston. Maybe we need more of those in New York. We forgot. We've got millions of them
There are
everywhere.
too many.
But what happened, of course, was that citizens took pictures of everything. But the most interesting thing is that when the carjacking occurred, the guy left his cell phone in the car. And that's how the police, very clever, tracked the bad guys. And ultimately, the firefight that killed the one was a result of that cell phone. Right?
Okay, so before we move on to other big ideas, Jared, as co-author of this book, you're director of Google Ideas, former advisor to Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice and Hillary Clinton, adjunct senior fellow at the Council of Foreign Relations. He's a Rhodes Scholar.
Very important.
Time 100 most influential people.
I'm feeling insignificant.
How old are you?
31.
Stop. Just stop doing that. You're making us so inadequate. Serious with all your... Come on. You want to just go home?
I do.
Let's just...
Why don't they just do the show?
All right, so when you're 50 like me, what's the world going to look like online?
Well, you have 5 billion new people connecting to the internet in the future, and we've
By
already...
the way, where's that going to be geographically? What are we looking at?
Well, so here's what's interesting about it. The next 5 billion people are connecting in the parts of the world where you have the most conflict, the most instability, and where the governance model is repressive and autocratic.
Right.
And we fundamentally believe that no nation in the world is worse off as a result of the internet's arrival. So that only becomes more true in these environments. So think about, this isn't Islamabad coming online. This is Fatah and Baluchistan coming online. Think about what that does for education, for health. Think about the 5 billion new witnesses that can document atrocities that are being committed. Of course, there are challenges, but there's a lot of good news ahead of us.
It's just everybody's empowered. Everybody's empowered. You do a Google search when you go to a doctor, and instead of sitting there where the doctor is playing God,
Has all the info.
you have as much info as you want going in there, and of course a lot of doctors hate that, but you sit there, you can check and go, well, wait a second, isn't there a possibility if you do that? And we're empowered in every way, from how we buy a car, and how we're taken care of, and also democratically. I had a political science professor who told me back in the early 80s that the Soviets were far more worried about a Xerox machine than a Pershing II cruise missile in West Germany. And she was right.
And I was right. And the empowerment of information, of people, is really the way to solve almost every problem. When we went to North Korea, our idea was that if we could just get a little bit of the internet in there, it would bring some doubt to this regime. It would somehow let people know, maybe there's another choice besides the fealty to this guy and this structure. We don't know if it's happened, but if you look at other governments, a little bit of internet allowed people to say, hey, we're not getting any economic growth, we're not getting any religious freedom, we need something better, and it allowed them to organize.
Yeah. So where is Google right now? How are you guys doing? I mean, the change that continues in the business landscape, but especially in your corner of the business landscape, is just pretty damn radical and dramatic, from, you know, Netscape to Yahoo to Google to Facebook to Apple. Is Apple up or is Apple down? How are you guys doing? What's next for Google?
Well, what's next is the same that's been what's next for the last year, which is the shift to mobile. What we see every quarter in our business is we see more and more people moving to mobile phones and mobile tablets and moving away from personal computers and Macs. And you see this in the industry. So the tools and techniques for mobility are just getting better. And there's a whole new generation of companies and applications which are mobile first or mobile only, you'll carry around. These applications will make your life better. Some of them will be from Google, some of them will be from competitors. But the fact of the matter is that we're all becoming much more reliant on these devices.
Isn't that remarkable? And I'm sure you're 99% mobile, Mr. Space Age Whiz Kid. But even I, at 50, I look at this thing now like it's the
That's heavy.
I never carry that on when I go on the plane. I now have got my iPad. We're playing with the Surface as well. It's lighter. You throw it in there. It can do everything that thing can do when I'm on a plane.
But what happened was the phones and the tablets got to the point where they were just easier to use for the average person. You didn't have to configure them, and they had everything you need. You could type on them fast enough, etc. And that's the future for a pretty long time, for another 5 years, 10 years,
So,
no beyond that.
Back to big picture, you guys write together in the Wall Street Journal, The Dark Side of the Digital Revolution, and you write in part this. Though it's possible to curb and monitor technology once it's available, even the most repressive regimes are unable to put it back in the box. What does this mean for governments and would-be revolutionaries? While technology has great potential to bring about change, there is a dark side to the digital revolution that is too often ignored. There is a turbulent transition ahead for autocratic regimes as more of their citizens come online, but technology doesn't just help the good guys pushing for democratic reform. It can also provide powerful new tools for dictators to suppress dissent.
So,
In Myanmar and Burma, where we just were, they're just opening up the internet. Now you're seeing the religious violence between the Buddhists and the Muslims, for example. The government could easily decide that religious violence is so dangerous. Let's shut that internet down because it's enabling it. And then they would miss out on all the benefits because they're afraid. They don't know how to handle the fact that people are going to say, hey, we don't like this group, we don't like that group. They've never had a tradition of free speech.
So, Jared, how do you guys, how does Google, how do other